Welcome back to Raw the Podcast. I'm your host, Allie, founder of TheCheekyClean and Conscious Car LLC, resources for the modern consumer to live more consciously. And I'm so honored to be here today with Rawia Abdel Samad. She is the founder of Beituti, a modern Lebanese pantry brand bringing bold, clean label, Middle Eastern flavors into everyday cooking. She's a mom of 3 and a former management consultant. She launched Beituti after moving to the U.S. and seeking convenient ways to recreate the food she grew up with. Based in Cleveland, she is passionate about making Lebanese cuisine accessible, vibrant, and easy to enjoy at home. Rawia, welcome to Raw the Podcast.
Thank you for having me, Allie. I'm so excited.
Thank you for being here. I want to give you a shout out first for all your patience as I'm learning all this big bad tech. If you guys noticed today, we have a little bit of a different setup with the side-by-sides. We want to put out more cool content so that we can really highlight the brands and the resources in our community that are so inspiring. So you are definitely one of those.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
Of course.
I feel the same way about you.
Oh, thank you, girl. It's as an entrepreneur, I think it's so hard sometimes, and you can probably relate, but it's so hard to notice and see your milestones and how far you've come, even when it comes to something so little like the studio and where it used to be, because you're just so in it all the time.
Right.
That it's if you have to kind of take a beat and almost see from the outside perspective.
Yeah.
And be like, damn, I am making moves. You know?
Absolutely. You have to zoom out. Yeah.
It is. It's tricky. But we met through the Wonder Women of Food, which is a fantastic organization here in Cleveland for women-owned brands, mostly in the food space. I think I'm the only local supplement that exists in the world, which is kind of cool. Everything's mass-produced and consolidated. Definitely in that space. And it's just been so incredible to learn and connect with other women on the same journey, you being one.
100%.
And I feel like brand is still in its pretty infant stages in the scheme of things.
Yes.
When did you actually launch? Because at the market that we met at, I think you were still just sampling.
Yeah, absolutely. We officially launched just over a year ago. Of course, I was working on the brand and, the products and everything, probably 9 months before that.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's still pretty new in the large scheme of things. So back to your point, sometimes I feel like I'm so hard on myself, but then I realize, that's okay.
Yeah, it's
still
so
pretty
true.
new.
Yeah, I want to talk about your journey to entrepreneurship and kind of the behind the scenes of what it takes to bring a CPG product to market, but also as someone who's not only a mom of 3 and a woman-owned brand, but doing something differently, really bringing a new cuisine to the marketplace and your culture to the marketplace, which is not something that we typically see in the Midwest. I think here we do have some incredible access to other cultures. When it comes to the commercial space, it can be few and far between. So I want to go all the way back and talk about your upbringing and your prior life and what led you here.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm excited to dig in.
So you live on the east side of Cleveland now.
Yes.
How long have you been there?
We've been here for just over 4 years now.
Okay. Where were you at prior?
Before that, we were in Boston for 3 years. And before that, Chicago for a year. So all in all, I've been in the U.S. for about 9 years now.
Got it.
Before that, I was in Lebanon. I'm Lebanese, born there, lived there almost my whole life. I grew up in the mountains of Lebanon in an area called Chouf, and then later on moved closer to Beirut. And I think I didn't realize until I became a mom and I moved to the U.S. how central food was to my life and my upbringing. Food was always, a way to connect with others, a way for my mom, my aunt, my grandma to show me love. And food is very seasonal. Where I grew up, there was always some food being dried at our home or some food being preserved or being enjoyed because, it was just so seasonal for that time of year. And I really wanted to recreate these memories and these experiences for my kids when I moved here, and just found it so incredibly hard to do so. And, the chaos and fast-paced life of, being a mom of 3 in the U.S., working mom of 3. Yeah.
How old were you when you moved here to the States?
So I was about 31 when I moved here, and I
Wow.
had a 1-year-old. It was
Oh my
really
gosh.
hard.
And what was the reason for making the move?
So the move was initially supposed to be a 1-year thing only in Chicago for my husband to do his like advanced medical training. He was doing a fellowship in Chicago, and we were supposed to go back to Beirut, and we actually bought an apartment in Beirut. We
Oh my
renovated
gosh.
it. So it was
Whoa.
always to go back. But then after that 1 year, he got another opportunity in Boston. And again, it was like 1 year, 2 years tops. We're moving back. And when we were finally ready to move back, the situation in Lebanon started becoming like it was starting to become difficult. There was an economic collapse and then the explosion in the port. I don't know if you remember that. And then, just a bunch of one unfortunate event after the other. So we decided to get a green card here,
Got it.
which is an amazing opportunity, of course. I mean, I'm
Mhm.
so grateful to have had that opportunity. So we got it through my employer. I used to work in a, big management consulting firm. But it was, I think, a very difficult realization for both me and my husband to get to the point where, like, okay, we are immigrants. We are,
Yeah.
first generation. Like, we're just, going to
Wow.
live outside our, safety
Like, this
zone.
isn't just a temporary thing. Like,
Yeah.
we're actually creating this whole new life in this completely different place.
Exactly. And then, that's when he started looking for full-time jobs. And
Yeah.
of course, Cleveland is wonderful for healthcare. Anything about Cleveland. I had all these, like preconceptions about the Midwest.
Were any of them accurate?
Sorry?
Were any of those preconceptions accurate?
Honestly, I keep saying this. Cleveland surprised me positively
Yeah.
in every single way. I think we are lucky to live in a very diverse community. When I decided I want to leave my corporate job and start, this entrepreneurial journey, I was also really surprised by having resources like the
Yeah.
Wonder Woman of food. So no, I think they were not true. I've also been really surprised to find such a big and vibrant Lebanese community in Cleveland. I never would have expected that. So yeah, it's been a really good
Absolutely.
place to raise a family. We now have 3 kids. Our family has grown, and yeah, it's been
So your
great.
first was 1 when you guys made the move. So
Yes.
all they know is the States, really. And I mean, of course, you like take them back and I'm
Yeah.
sure like you're keeping their roots really strong, but their whole lives have been spent here.
Their whole life is here. We go
Wow.
back every year. War, no war. We
Yeah.
usually make it back. Literally, they announced the ceasefire last week, and we booked our flights to go end of
Yes.
July. Hopefully,
So
it
all
goes
your
well.
family's there.
All our families are there. All our
Wow.
friends, our
Wow.
whole life is there.
Yeah.
Our kids love going back, which is
Yeah.
great. And I think even while we're here, we're still very connected to our culture.
Yep.
With the Lebanese community here, with the food we eat at home. So they're very Lebanese American, I would say.
Okay, so wow, your kids grew up here and you're really trying to like navigate and build. Do you guys feel like Cleveland is home?
So I think,
Yeah.
I mean, I don't
And
know.
your husband is no longer in a role that moves around. It's kind of
No.
roots down.
Yes,
Mhm.
yes, roots down. He's very happy with his practice here. And yeah, I think for the foreseeable future, Cleveland is home.
Yeah, it's funny because if you grow up here, until you leave, you really don't have the perspective and I think the appreciation for the city as, you do for me, when I moved to California, it was like so eye-opening how much more was available in bigger cities and access to maybe different options and things like that at like the drop of a dime. But here in Cleveland, we do still have the same access. It's almost, though, this opportunity to create deeper, more aligned connections because everyone is like 1 degree of separation. And so if there is something you're interested in, or there is a community or a culture or a resource that would be valuable for you, the access is a lot easier in a way to get genuine, real connection around that than say in some of these bigger, larger cities where, I don't know, I just found it was harder to navigate those types of things because it's so big.
100%. I totally agree. And I think for what we're trying to build, I think both of us were trying to build these, clean label brands that, focus on the healthy consumer. I think it's almost, it's harder building this in a city like Cleveland, but it also stress tests your business model
It's so true.
in a big way, right?
It's
So
so
if we
true.
can succeed here, then hopefully, we can also succeed on the coast and in bigger
Absolutely.
cities. So no, Cleveland has been a great place to live, to start a business, to raise kids.
Yeah.
I can't complain.
Yeah, totally. That's so cool. And I think we're so lucky to have more and more cultures that are, coming in and helping us expand our palettes. It's so funny to me sometimes when I see how commercial some areas are still in any city, but there's such an opportunity to eat different cuisines and source local foods and kind of get
Right.
back to farming. Like, I mean, we have some incredible lands for farm here in this state alone. And going back to what you said earlier in the podcast about you growing up, your family was always eating seasonally, drying foods, cooking was a big part of your lives. We've almost created this fast paced energy where, especially here in the States, like it's more normal to have this on the go,
Mhm.
quick convenience than cooking. And
Right.
there's so much value that comes outside of just health from that time that you're spent at home cooking with your family, the memories made, the connections built, the time, the talking, all of it. I
100%.
think get that so often in this like modern consumer world. So starting to like shift that. I love the trad wife era that our country is in for, I mean, I don't know that I'll ever be one. I mean, actually, I take that back. Like at this point with my boyfriend, it's like we're doing chickens, we're doing gardens.
You
I'm
are?
like, I might as well be a trad wife.
I love that.
um, but there's just something so empowering. I'm obsessed with not having to rely on this like big system in
Mhm.
order to have like the health and the value that comes from the food. So I obviously fell in love with you as your person. You're such a sweetheart, but the samples that you were giving out at the market that we did were incredible. So you're a fantastic cook.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
And your husband is so nice too.
Oh,
You
thank
guys
you.
are adorable. But you know me, and you've followed my brand for a little bit. Like,
Mhm.
I'm all about clean, and it's really challenging to take real food and preserve that realness and put it into a packaging and sell it in a store.
So challenging.
Yeah, and I want to talk to you about that process. Before we get there, though, I do want to understand too as well. You were in a management company?
I was in a consulting firm. Yeah,
A
management
consulting firm.
consulting. Yeah.
Okay. And so, what came over you to make this change? You were obviously cooking at home,
Mhm.
and something like must have clicked for you to say, okay, like I want to start packaging this stuff and like putting it out in the world.
Yeah, but it was a multi-year process, I would say. So I think when I first moved to the US and found it always more convenient to make pasta or make
Right.
tacos
Right.
as opposed to food from my culture because of, the convenience element, I started thinking about the concept behind Beituti. I mean, not that we don't enjoy all these other foods, we do, but you know what I mean. Like I wanted clean label products. I didn't want to drive to an ethnic store. At the time in Boston, it was like probably like an hour and a half from where
Yeah.
I lived. And some of the products did not align with the clean label standards that we have at home. The concept behind Beituti started then, I would say, but it
Hmm.
took me years, I think, to build up the courage to leave my corporate job. So when I moved to Cleveland, I was still working in consulting, but it was becoming incredibly hard. I was on the road a lot and I was just not feeling inspired anymore.
Hmm.
I realized like this is not what I want to do for the next chapter of my life. So I made the decision to leave without any clear plan what my next chapter was going to be. And then I think it just happened by chance. My husband actually gifted me a culinary program at a cooking school here in Chesterland, Ohio. So I did that, not kind of thinking twice about it. And then they asked me to give cooking classes at the school. So I started doing that. I started doing Lebanese, Middle Eastern cooking classes, and I really had fun doing that.
Love
And I
that.
realized that, it's not just us, it's not just Middle Eastern people. People in the Midwest, in Cleveland, actually really enjoy Lebanese food. They
Yeah.
have great awareness about it because
Hmm.
of the restaurants in the city. They want a way to cook it at home that is
Yeah.
convenient. So that's when I started thinking about Beituti more seriously, working on the brand. I was lucky enough to meet a food scientist in the Lebanese community here in
Very
Cleveland. I don't know
cool.
if you met her. She's also in Wonder Woman of Food, Julie Eid.
I don't think so.
She's wonderful. So we
Yeah.
started working together literally in my kitchen,
Oh
kind of
my gosh. So
experimenting with
cool.
different products, thinking what we would put out there. And so, I mean, I knew I wanted to start with my family recipe. I had so many different ideas. I had some, I think the biggest principle for me was I want to create a product that I would use at home every single day. So there are some things that, I mean, it's not a trend or a fad or anything like that, but we just don't use inflammatory oils at home. So I wanted to avoid any type of seed oils. My stance on sugar is, a little bit like for desserts in moderation is fine. But in the marinades and sauces, I wanted to avoid any sugar. I wanted to avoid any flavorings, like even natural flavors. I don't have, although it's so tempting and
It's so
so
tempting.
easy, right?
I
Because
know.
like something like cardamom, for example, we use a spice called cardamom in our shawarma marinade, and it's so expensive. And using a natural flavor instead would be more cost effective and would also be more, stable.
Mhm.
And as we scale production more and more, so drawing these hard lines and saying, no, I want to use, real, simple pantry ingredients has been, like a firm line
Yeah.
for me. Having said that, we're also working now on a new line, which is baking mixes, because I
Yes.
think the baking mix aisle can use a lot of, fun, innovation, and can use a lot of, international fun flavors.
That's complete white space. Like,
It
I don't
is,
know of
right?
one international,
Yeah, it's all
baking
chocolate
option.
and
It's
vanilla
all
and
the same
blueberry. Yeah.
shit. Yeah, for real.
Yeah, and we have a lot of amazing flavors.
Very cool.
So we did one experimental product. It's a turmeric semolina mix with anise and rose. And there I
Mm,
use cane sugar because it's fine like that,
right.
So I'm not, I would say, a purist, or I'm not rigid about these things. I just want to use real
You
food.
just want to use real food. And I think that's where it gets so interesting when we talk about it, because it's like, yeah, when you think of a dessert, you expect there to be.
Right. I don't want to use a sugar alternative.
No, you
Yeah.
want to use like real sugar in a dessert. And we know, real sugar would be in a dessert. It makes
Right.
sense. It's eaten in moderation. It's after a meal. It's a treat. It's a birthday, like we
Exactly.
know how we're consuming it in our lives, and we have that conscious awareness. I think where it gets weird, especially with the sauces, which is why it's so interesting that you're doing both, is that's been an area where historically the brands have really changed dramatically over time from what they were initially developed
Mhm.
as in a similar fashion as yourself. But as they've grown and consolidated and been purchased by big food, I mean, when you think about a ketchup, for example, I mean, there is so much sugar in
So
it.
much sugar.
It's insane. And I think the consumer is so unaware that they're even consuming that much sugar
Right.
when they're eating a sauce like that, for example. And that's when it gets like, not to mention all the other additives and things in there, stabilizers, emulsifiers, like you said, natural flavors. When you go down the sauce aisle and you're really looking at those ingredients, there are very few that are majority real food.
Right. 100%. Yeah.
So you're truly doing something different. And I think it's so important to talk about it, because the internet loves to, at least my corner of the internet, like Clean Living, loves to give grief to brands when they sell out to larger brands and say like, oh, you're selling out, whatever. But when we're standing in that aisle and we're looking at the options, if we're not choosing the local brand, the small batch brand with the better ingredients and using our dollars towards that, we're the reason why the sellout's happening.
100%.
So it's
Yeah.
like we have to be aware of why sometimes products are more expensive when they have the good stuff in them, and be willing to invest, even if it's just a little more in it. Because you're exactly right. Like you could significantly extend your profit margins and your production output by shifting to
By
some of
using
those.
shortcuts. 100%.
Yes.
Yeah.
And the norm is the shortcut.
100%.
Yeah. So what are some of the ways that you're like making this possible? Like do you have a shorter shelf life than some of these other brands?
So our products, I think Lebanese cooking in general tends to be very zesty, very
Yeah.
tangy, very lemony. So I think we're just lucky with the current products that we started with. And we started with them for that reason, because of how tangy they are. The pH is naturally low. So we can
Amazing.
actually, we're safe in terms of preserving them. And the shelf life is pretty good. And yeah, I think where we are as a brand right now, like we're still pretty new. I think the consumers have been willing to pay extra, I would say,
Yeah.
for the better fats, for the clean ingredients. And I was just saying before the podcast, I feel like I also like won the lottery almost by getting selected to be part of the Whole Foods Sleep program. And that
Totally.
was a big stamp of approval by the Whole Foods team. So I feel like it's going okay so far. I do realize that there will be a lot of challenges and a lot of like stress on the brand as it grows, with, increasing the margin to fund retail expansion. But for me, these are lines that
Mhm.
I'm drawing, and hopefully we can prove that clean label brands can exist and thrive as consumers, shift their mindset about.
Exactly, and I
Yeah.
think that's the cool marriage between the 2, and I
Yeah.
am seeing the shift, and that's where social media and awareness is so cool. It's
Right.
like when we know better, we can choose better, and we
Right.
can give life to the brands that are actually doing it great for us because we wanna have the options,
Yeah.
and we want it to be convenient. There's nothing better than being I mean, your sauces are so good,
Thank you.
and it really creates such value in a dish, changes the whole dish, and it allows you to, like, myself, I'm not like a big, I wouldn't say I'm not a big cook. I'm just really simple. I use just real food and quality ingredients.
Mhm.
I have this thing with like a recipe that's this long that just like it's not for me,
Right.
you
Yeah.
know?
Yeah, it's probably for,
So
like,
I
special
like
occasions.
clean sourced meats and vegetables and fish, and a product like yours takes the dish to a next level as if I'm like some sort of five-star chef.
I love that. Thank you.
And it's so good. And
Yeah.
so I think it's just like very cool to know that you can create this in your own home with, like we said, such minimal effort because we are in this go, go, go lifestyle
Exactly, and
oftentimes.
that's the whole point behind the brand, like,
Mhm.
make inspiring people to make Lebanese food on a weeknight
Mhm.
with little effort, but still the output at the end of the day is a cozy home-cooked meal
Mm.
that you can enjoy with your family.
Are you making all the products?
No,
Okay.
now I work with a
A
manufacturing partner.
manufacturer, perfect, and
Yeah.
they're willing to, like, stick to your standards.
Yes,
Amazing.
they're great. That was a big challenge, like, getting to this
Yeah.
point, but yeah, now I'm very happy with where I am, and they're great. They source great ingredients.
Yeah.
The tahini paste was a big challenge because initially I was working with the tahini paste from Lebanon, and
Mhm.
with all the supply chain disruptions from the situation in the Middle East, I had to switch, which led to the tahini, the top seller product being out of stock for a while.
Mhm.
So just always navigating all of that, but just making sure we source the best ingredients.
Yeah, absolutely, and congratulations on the Whole Foods Leap program.
Thank you.
So, you will be in East Coast stores?
Yes, we are launching in Whole Foods. I think this is the first time I say it this summer. And yeah, exact stores and details will follow, but
Amazing.
yeah,
That is
super
so
exciting.
incredible, and this is, what, a year in? I mean, the sky is the limit. That is so inspiring,
Thank you.
and I think goes back to this dynamic that I wanna touch on and I've talked about a little bit, but when you have that feeling inside of you, it may not necessarily be this, like, clear voice, but when something feels off, you knew you were uninspired in your corporate job. You knew, like, something was off. You didn't
Mhm.
like, you were getting drained and burned out more than you were being excited to show up, and that is a message from your gut, from the divine, like, however you wanna look at it, and I think so many of us feel that, hear that, and just, like, push it down because society, especially in the States here, has, like, programmed us to do this, like, linear path,
Mhm.
and it's like, you already have this job, you have this security, you have a family, but when you take a risk and do something from your heart, and I kinda did the same thing, like, went all in, and you
Right.
just figure it out as you go, the universe will move with you, and I think your story is such an inspiring one to help other people, like, get the courage to listen to that voice, go after that thing, make that change. If there's something that you're really enjoying doing and you see a white space and a gap, like, we want it as consumers.
Yeah, one thing I would add though is I don't want it to sound like it's easy.
Oh
It's not
gosh.
easy at
Mhm.
all. I mean,
Mhm.
leaving my corporate job was a very, very, very difficult decision. And also this entrepreneurial journey has been a very difficult process. I mean, there are good days, there are really bad days
Yeah.
as well. And I think this month has honestly been very challenging for me, like navigating this whole, entrepreneurial stuff while everything's going on back home. I feel
Yeah.
like this week, this comes at a good timing actually, because this week I just literally forced myself to snap out of it because I just need to focus on my work and my family and myself. But yeah, it's still very hard. There are a lot of doubts on many days, but I just couldn't ignore that voice that, I need to try at
Yeah.
least to make this
It
work.
completely changes you as a person.
Yes.
And mentally, emotionally, everything you're talking about is so real. And it does sound, I think, and like perspective from the outside, it might look super rosy, like, oh yeah, I quit my job and I'm doing this. Like,
Right.
I mean, the amount of faith that you have to gain through the process is insane. And I always say it gets to a point where it's not even about the outcome anymore. It's
Yeah.
about this person that you're becoming and showing up for yourself on these days, not because you have to, because it's this purpose that you've chose. It's so challenging, but it's also so rewarding. And
Right.
it's such meaningful work when you think about and talk about what's going on in the Middle East and what your family is probably experiencing right now. I want to talk a little bit about it because to me, it takes your brand of being just, I'm a CPG brand owner, to you are bringing your culture into another area of the world. You're educating us here on what it means to be Lebanese, and it is running so much deeper now. Like, I think the mission and the meaning behind the brand is growing tenfold as your heart is aching for your family back home. Is that correct?
I really appreciate you saying that because at times it didn't feel like it was. At times when all you can see is destruction and you're literally worried about the health and safety of your family members, it just felt like almost too little that I'm focused
Yeah.
on food at this
Yeah.
time and on, I don't know, a packaging change or chasing an ingredient. I don't know. It just felt like I wasn't doing enough. I wasn't also I struggled with being in the US, with the US's role, and it was just tough, honestly, the past few weeks. But I think that's the exact perspective that I'm trying to focus on right now, that my mission, Beituti's mission, matters even more because the Middle East is often portrayed with grayness and destruction and conflict, that we need to show the beauty in the Middle East. We need to show the beauty in our food and our culture. So I'm definitely trying to focus on that, but it's not always easy. Sometimes I
It's not
feel
always
like,
easy,
is
yeah.
this the right thing to focus on? Yeah.
What has gotten you through those challenging times? Like, is there anything specifically that you can think as like, wow, I wouldn't have been able to keep pressing forwards without this practice or this habit or this mindset or this mission?
I think having access to a community here that is supportive has been really helpful. So there is, a big Lebanese community here that I feel like we can lean on each other. I think, honestly, I don't know. It was very triggering even to be on social media, which is a place that, as brands, we need to show up on a lot, but just being there was very triggering. Trying to find the right answer for what helped me beyond
Yeah.
maybe just a ceasefire was announced and things are looking slightly better.
Yeah.
Hopefully it lasts. And I
What
just
about the social media was so triggering?
conflicts I've seen. It's so tiring,
It's so
over what?
tiring. Oh,
I
I
think
know.
as humans, we all agree on the same fundamental things, and it just feels like we're stuck in this vicious cycle. And it's just triggering to read a random comment or see it, and it just felt like that's all I was seeing
Yes.
online.
And I think that, and the reason why I asked is because having a conversation with yourself is this opportunity to see the real person behind a brand and who's behind, your handle on social media, for example. And I
Mhm.
think so often we've gotten caught up in this world of social media that is not real. And it's so easy for people to spew opinions or judgment or misinformation without realizing that there are real people that you can really hurt. And so being aware of how you're showing up on social media is really important. And then two, I think navigating the way that we consume it,
Yeah.
And so it's like having a way to get your brand out there, but then also not let it be a space that becomes negative for you and doing whatever you can do. I have to do the same thing. I mean, it can be this like double-edged sword.
100%. Yeah, it was really challenging. I mean, for a while, I actually deactivated my personal social media, but obviously I couldn't do that for the business. And even with the business, I couldn't just go about my day just posting food recipe, food content
Right. You
because
feel like it's not, what am I
yeah.
doing?
So I did post, a couple of things related to what was going on back home, and everyone was incredibly supportive, I have to say. So it is a double-edged sword. There's also a lot of amazing, community that you can find from social media. So
And I would just encourage you, because I know it's difficult and I know you don't want to be divisive as a brand, but I do think that your authentic voice is what makes your brand so unique and cool. And it's, of course, a reason why it's a blank space on a shelf. But I think it's also an opportunity for you to spread awareness. And I think that you should feel confident in order to do that and ignore if there's like comments that come back. It sounds like for the most part, it was, pretty
yeah.
supportive. But I do think that as especially Americans who haven't lived anywhere else that has war going on, we may not have any idea what it feels like to have family members that are caught up in this dynamic. And I think sometimes we need to learn the reality. And so, you know, I I'm all here for authentic realness when it comes to the social space and want to encourage anyone to do so because I've even felt the same as like my brand's grown. I'm like, oh, maybe I should be like sharing about this or that because people want to hear about it or people want to see it or like this is what hits. And it's like,
Right.
but it's not authentic to me, you know? So I don't know. I think definitely like keep educating and sharing. And that is a way that you can, continue to support back home with the platform that you're building.
Yeah, no, I really appreciate you saying that. And it's been, I think, against a lot of advice I got, it's been really important for me to stay authentic. Like, for example, a lot of the advice I got was to focus on Mediterranean as opposed to Lebanese, as like how I describe the brand. But
That's
like,
so offensive.
but that's how most
Yes.
Lebanese food, or I mean, any individual cuisine's food gets portrayed in the US. And it
It's
just
so
drives me
true.
nuts,
And I
right?
think as consumers, like, I would like to think we're more evolved than that.
I know. I don't know what it is. I guess maybe partially because of the Mediterranean diet, but also people need to realize it's like 20, I don't know, 22 countries, I think, across 3 continents. Moroccan food is very different from Lebanese food, from Egyptian food, from Portuguese. It's a vast area, and we
Yes.
cannot flatten it
Oh.
to one cuisine or to like one bowl or one salad. That just
Mhm.
doesn't work.
Mhm.
So for me, even just emphasizing these things is
Mhm.
part of raising awareness.
It's going such a long way, and anything that you're doing that is different or that goes against the advice is what's going to, in the long run, set you apart
I hope
completely.
so. Thank
So,
you.
like, stick to that gut feeling.
Yeah.
Always. Like, I'm so fatigued by the mass similar approach to everything and the like follow this playbook type shit. Like, it's
Right.
just so over and done. And as consumers, we're ready for realness and authenticity and new and different and reality, I think. And
Right.
it's like we're evolved enough to be able to handle it now, like
Yeah.
we're
No.
not just like being served. And that's my whole thing is like becoming uninfluenced. It's like we've spent we've been owned by these companies that want to serve us a narrative, and our power lies in making conscious choices. And when we can learn about the brands and the mission and the people behind them, it creates this different dynamic. Now we're not just putting our money towards a sauce in a store. We're putting our money towards an authentic human being who's bringing awareness to her culture and her family. And that's, to me, like makes my currency feel like gold. And it does so much more for the energy of humanity than just like over consumerism to spend,
I cannot agree more.
you know?
Yeah.
So I love what you're doing. I think your mission's even more powerful now. Are you in touch with your family? And I mean, is everyone safe and okay? And
Yeah. So everyone is safe. I think there was one day a week ago that was incredibly hard. Some of the bombs were actually very close to my husband's family in particular. So it
mm,
was really hard, but everyone is safe. There's a ceasefire now. So hopefully, this leads to peace.
yeah.
I don't know. I have to say I'm a bit hopeless at this
Yeah.
point,
Yeah.
but let's see.
Yeah. Let's see for sure. And I do appreciate, what you said about the journey not being easy when it comes to entrepreneurship. I think there are inherent challenges, which we've obviously talked about from like a faith standpoint and doubt and things like that, when it comes to bringing a product to market, the more physical side of it, like what have been some of the challenges that you did not foresee that have been incredible to overcome?
Yeah, I think when I started, I think I was building a little bit too fast and I came across challenges that I would never have expected, honestly. Like something like I think we launched very late 2024. And then in Jan 2025, I was doing the debut for the brand and pop-up grocer in New York, for example, which is really exciting. But then a lot of the lids for the bottles were not working properly and we had a lot of leaks. Like, imagine how bad that looks
Oh
on a
no.
shelf. And that like devastated me at the time.
Yeah.
Or like, so things like that
And it's
just
like this thing where it's like you're so excited because you're like going so
right.
quick,
You're
but then you're like, oh my
investing.
gosh, like now all these people are seeing this issue that we're having that we could have maybe like fixed on a smaller scale type thing.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So we had that challenge to figure out. We had a number of manufacturing challenges, mainly because we're manufacturing without, like emulsifiers like xanthan
Mm.
gum, commercial ones, I would say. So we had issues with separation, with the tahini sauce, like not, being bottled right. Just a number of manufacturing challenges that I had to like work out over the past year. I'm very happy with where we are right now. We're relaunching the tahini sauce actually next week. We have
Very
a new
cool.
tahini SKU
Yeah.
actually as well.
And especially because I think, and that's another area of consumer awareness that is so important. So I was in the paint business, like for my career, industrial chemicals, but architectural paint was like where I spent the majority of my time. And if one thing was off with the formula when it came to paint, the consumer would have a problem with it. So imagine now the food, right? You buy a product that settles out, it's okay to shake it.
Yeah.
Like, I just wanna say, it means it's real, you
Right.
know? And so oftentimes we would just, like, pump the formula with more chemicals, which in an industrial setting, like, whatever, but that's what happens in food too. It's all a formula. So it's
Right.
like in order to sit on a shelf and not change at all, there is going to have to be things that are put in there because if it's just real food, I mean, when you think about a juice that you make at your house, it's
It's
like
gonna
it settles
separate.
out quickly, right? So it's like, as a consumer, before just rushing to this judgment of like different equals bad, maybe taking a note on why is this happening?
Mm,
And can I just shake it? Is this the product of real food? And is it changing the taste whatsoever? Just like little things of thinking about stuff differently. Because I think even when I think about like salad dressing, for example,
mm.
speaking of paint, they're really similar formulas. It's actually crazy. And there are certain brands that are using titanium dioxide in the formula, which is from an inhalation standpoint and like DNA genetics wise in Europe is regulated.
That's crazy to me, honestly.
Crazy. Here it's used in food. Okay. Makeup, sunscreen, all sorts of stuff. Paint. It's what makes paint white. And it's used in ranch dressing here because it's also making the ranch dressing white. If a consumer gets a ranch dressing that isn't bright white, they don't think it's ranch.
Right.
So it's like we're being fed like false food and false narratives in order to like make us think and buy more of it. So it's like that's just I think such awareness is like the ingredient label, if it's clean, but there are certain differences with the product and what you're used to, that's actually a green flag.
Right. Yeah, exactly. You need to shake the bottle.
You
It's
gotta
okay.
shake the bottle.
Like we also reformulated a little bit our marinade. We're actually switching to olive oil from avocado oil, and now the product actually solidifies in the
Mm-hmm.
fridge. So you
Mm-hmm.
got to get it out, wait for a little bit, and then you can shake it like just a minute, just for the oil to loosen up. And
And
that's
it's like,
just, a reality of using olive oil. It's gonna solidify.
and what would you rather do? Set your product out and then shake it? Or consume highly inflammatory cheap seed oil that every time you're using that, you're building your toxin load. I mean, it really is. We have to get to this point as consumers where we become smarter than what we're being sold because
Exactly.
we've become the product at this point.
Yeah.
And it's like, it's going to keep getting worse unless we shift our mindsets.
Yeah, because brands every day they have to make these decisions and they have
Mhm.
to make these trade-offs. So unless the consumers are voting with, how they spend their money,
Exactly.
brands are going to keep making, the quote unquote wrong decisions.
Right. I mean, and that was my whole thing in the chemical industry. I'm like, I'm going to change the industry from the inside out, and I'm going to like sit in these rooms and be the voice for the consumer that we want the better chemistry. And every time it was like, the consumer won't pay for it.
Right.
So we're not putting it out in the market. And it's just like, that's
Yeah.
when I was like, I got to double down on education, because I feel like if a consumer knew this dressing could have a potential reprotoxin in it because it's whiter versus this dressing, which is real food, tastes better, but is probably not as white, what one are you going to choose? It's like, and this one's safe. So I like to believe that we as consumers have the ability to become empowered. And with that empowerment can come better options, better health, happiness, all the things.
I agree.
Yeah.
Love what you're doing with the education. Yeah.
It's because I feel for the brands, because I think it's easy also as a consumer to sit back and say, there's no option.
Yeah.
But I think when you like start to peel back the layers and you learn the why, it makes making that choice that much more powerful.
Yeah. No, I agree.
So in Lebanon growing up, seed oils weren't a thing.
No, I mean, it's all olive oil. Honestly, we would
Yes.
fry food with olive oil.
Yes. Yeah. And olive oil is such a healthy fat. And when you're using a better for you oil, it goes such a long way in your health and your toxin load, especially for children too. You're obviously the products that you're bringing to life, you have these strict standards. Do you in your personal life too? Like, are you really trying to eat clean, live cleaner, and fuel your family in that same way?
Yeah. I have to say, I was pretty strict about it as when I first became a mom. So we always eat, pretty healthy. We always cook a lot. I mean, I use a lot of, shortcuts, the Beituti products. I probably use them 3-4 times a week, but it's still, the result is always still a clean, home cooked meal. So we do a lot of that. In the beginning, I was very strict about what the kids can even snack on. I think I'm learning to become more lenient because I was just driving myself nuts.
Yeah.
Honestly,
Yeah.
it's so hard. It's so hard. And birthdays at school, it almost backfired with my eldest.
Why? Because she almost wanted to rebel against the...
Exactly. Like, I would send him all this like very like Lebanese food to school, and he's like, I don't want to eat this. I want to eat real I want to eat normal food is what he would
Which is like, to kids, it's this like packaged
Yeah, exactly.
fun.
So
Yeah,
I
know, it's so
think
hard.
as, with everything in life, I'm learning to be more balanced. Learning, I'm exposing my kids to everything. I think the red line I draw is like no food coloring. Like,
Yeah.
yeah,
Well, and luckily, as consumers, the more outrage, which frankly is what it should be, that we have against these products being in our food, and the less we're consuming them, the more the regulations will start to get there. So it's like, it takes a long time, but even to see like Red 40, it's about freaking time that that's starting to be banned. There's still other colors that are allowed, but it's like, now we know colors are not good. So, we have to just like keep that momentum moving. And I can't imagine. I need to find a way to create like a cheeky group for the moms, because I feel like it must feel so isolating.
It's so isolating because I think the majority of people, I don't know, especially when it comes to snacks. Snacking has become a snack. Like the word snack is triggering for me as a mom now. Like I cannot hear the word snack. Like just eat your meals, eat a healthy meal, and you'll be full until this next one. So I think we have a very big snacking culture when it comes to kids, and a lot of the snacks are not great. I think yes, we have a lot of better options, but
maybe we need like some Beituti snacks.
I don't know.
You're like, I got my hands full, girl.
Yeah, I think.
No, I do think though, because it's so interesting. So my boyfriend has 2 kids, and it's been interesting being in their worlds now. And me being the way that I am with it, he's the same way. We're both really healthy people. He's a functional medicine doctor, a chiropractor. It's like we live this way, but they are gonna have the exposure no matter what. And then that exposure, it's like it creates this like mental thing where then they want it, and it's like, it's such a hard dynamic.
It's so hard. Yeah, like with my 2 younger ones, I think it just worked. Like they gravitate towards healthy food. I think I was probably a bit too strict with my eldest. Yeah, but we're figuring it out.
And I think there needs to just like continue to be more and more conversation around that, because it's like 2 sides of the coin. What I'm seeing, it's either like So you let them have whatever, and that's not necessarily great. I mean, we're seeing like ADHD rise in children, like all sorts of issues, neurological hyperactivity, things like that. There is direct correlations to
Of
these food
course,
additives.
100%.
Then you see like the complete other side where people are, I think, so concerned about the fear-based mindset around the like, you can't have this, can't have this, can't have this. It's like, we almost need to find this middle
This
ground,
balance, yeah.
this balance where together we're like, we just want to move towards a healthier way.
Yeah. And like even for me as a woman, so I was just saying, I'm turning 40 next week and my approach has always been real food, real food, real food. I don't need supplements. I don't need, anything. But actually at the beginning of this year, and it was partly, to support your brand, I actually got, your collagen and eh, to balance, I was clearly not getting enough collagen with whatever I was eating because I saw a huge improvement. Like I had an improvement in my hair so I add it every day to my coffee.
Mm.
And since then, I've also actually started adding amazing, like pure grass-fed whey powder as well.
Mhm.
It's all about balance. Like there
It's
are
all
now these
about
amazing
balance.
tools that help
Yes.
us along
Mhm.
with the real food that we're eating.
Yep. And what I always say is that the reason why I love the collagen is because it's one easy shift that you can add to your daily routine. You're going to
Exactly.
have your coffee or tea in the morning anyways. You add the scoop and it's creating this, like protection almost inside. You're like improving all of these deficiencies so that when you are exposed to the toxins that we aren't able to always
Mhm.
control, your body is able to fight that and navigate that and create the abundance within itself. Like our bodies are meant to heal themselves. We're not necessarily meant to be in these as high of a toxin load as we currently experience as a typical human. But when we make these small little shifts, we can reduce it
Yeah.
significantly and we almost can protect our gut, our bones, our brain, our hair from the effects that are exacerbated now with the toxin loads and just natural aging. And it's so powerful. And I think like one little thing and you start to see like, wow, this is actually helping. Then you're
Yeah,
like, maybe I should
exactly.
do this. Maybe I should do this. And before you know it, you're kind of like cultivating
Yeah.
this like little healthier routine. I love that. I always say, and I do want to like clarify a little on the collagen because I've seen some misinformation. It's not misinformation. There have been a lot of wellness experts out there on socials that are saying like collagen isn't effective. And I would agree with collagen by itself. But that's where the Cheeky collagen is so different. It has the vitamin C and the silica. And both of those are actually giving the opportunity to your body to make it bioavailable. So collagen on its own without the vitamin C or silica, you really aren't going to see a difference
Okay.
and aren't going to see a change. So that's why I'm so passionate about it is because like, it's not just me, like everyone who uses it is like, whoa, like I'm really
No,
noticing a difference.
yeah, me too.
And it's so
And
cool.
I'm not like a wellness girly. I gravitate away from anything that has a protein label on it at the
Yeah.
grocery store. Like I
Yeah.
just, emphasize real food.
Yeah.
I'm back to, the point about balance and finding what works for you,
Mm-hmm.
especially that now we have all these, modern convenient tools that can help
Absolutely.
us in our journey. It's definitely part of my routine now. I love it. Yeah.
Yeah. So speaking of being a mom, outside of obviously like navigating what we already talked about, which is like how you're bringing this culture and habit of eating real foods to your kids in a, highly processed world, how also has navigating entrepreneurship been as a mom?
It's honestly really hard.
Mm-hmm.
I did not, now thinking about it, in hindsight, it's almost naive, but I did not expect how much weekend work there is. For
I know.
example, like a lot of the events, a lot of the demos happen on the weekends, a lot in the evenings. So it is, quite taxing. I'm very lucky to be in a, like in a supportive relationship. My husband is very supportive of what I'm doing, of our mission, but it's not easy. The one kind of pro, on the other hand, I love that my kids are excited about the
Yeah.
brand.
Love that.
Like they get so excited every time they see the product on shelf at
So
Heinen's.
cool.
They want to take pictures with it still.
Yes. And you're showing them what's possible.
Yeah, like even in the like when, we're prepping orders, like my daughter loves to come and like, stick
Yes.
like like the label, things like
Very
that. They
cute.
love to be involved. And yeah, I love to show them, hard work.
Yeah. I think there's a misconception a little bit that like if you're an entrepreneur and you work for yourself, you have all this flexibility.
Oh my God. And I mean, I had that misconception. The
Oh,
initial argument was, yeah, like consulting and corporate is too
yeah.
taxing. Oh, no,
No,
not at
like,
all.
wow, to be able to clock out.
You
You
never
know?
clock out. I know,
It's like
it's
these
really
things that you
hard.
don't realize, but that's why I think the passion and the has to be
Yeah,
there. Like you can't just like leave corporate to do something that your heart's
yeah.
not in because it really does become almost like one of your other children.
Yes, and it's so chaotic.
Mhm.
That's why now, like, I'm formally looking for a place to work outside the home because it's just too much.
And as you grow, you can start outsourcing. And
Yes.
I've just read this book, which like I would highly recommend to any entrepreneur. It's called Who Not How.
Oh, I did. I read it as
It's
well.
so good.
Yeah.
And that's kind of what I'm starting to realize is that it's hard to be a one-woman show.
For sure.
And oftentimes you kind of can't move forwards if you're doing it all yourself. And
Yeah.
especially if then you're a mom and you have other things going on in your life. So like starting to open yourself, especially as you grow, to the right people to come in, I
Yes.
think will be so valuable.
Yeah, I think so far I've relied a lot on, contractors, agencies, like
Yeah.
for different things, but I think I actually just person virtual assistant.
Amazing.
Yeah, I'm very excited about
That's
that.
cool.
Yeah, so she's starting next week. Same thing. I read the book and I was so inspired. I'm
I
like, yeah,
know.
enough just hustling.
And like perfect
around.
timing with, I think, what's about to come for you. You know,
Yes,
like you
I know.
guys are going to experience some tremendous growth in the next year. And that's super exciting. But like
Yeah.
you said, it's like also overwhelming. So like having the systems and the structure in place, I think will be
Yeah.
incredible.
Yeah, no, I hope so.
Yeah. Okay. So tell us where we can shop your products.
Yeah, so in Cleveland, we are in Heinens
Mhm.
and Market District.
Both the baking mixes and the sauces.
No, just the sauces. So
Okay.
baking mixes, we only have one SKU that
Okay.
we launched. It's kind of like experimental, trying to figure
Yeah.
out. And it's been like well received. I'm actually now working on another flavor with a Lebanese chef.
Very
He's
cool.
one of my, favorite Lebanese food personalities in the US. His name is Eddie Messiah, based in New York.
Very
We're
cool.
working together on a new mix. Hopefully we'll launch that fall of this year. And then as I grow this line, I think then I can start pitching it to grocery. Right now, that one is just on my website and Amazon. But yeah, the marinades are in Heinens and then a lot of like amazing Shopee shops in the
Yeah.
Cleveland area.
Very cool.
We're adding the new tahini sauce next week as well as a new SKU.
Very cool.
Yeah.
And then to be in Whole Foods soon
Yes.
in certain
Yes,
areas
yes,
of the
yes.
country.
Yeah, so excited about that.
cool.
Hope to expand further. But yeah, super excited. I was super scared.
Yes, but
Yeah.
no, like it's if it doesn't scare you, it's not worth it. So
Yeah,
it's going to be good, girl. And
that's
it'll be a learning process. And I think it's really going to take your business to the next level and your mission, more importantly.
Yeah.
So inspiring. Will you be at the spring market for Wonder Woman?
I still haven't decided.
I'm trying to decide too.
Yeah, I'm hoping I can make it. Yeah.
There will be a spring market at the end of May for all of you guys who do want to support some of the local women-owned brands in Cleveland. And maybe you'll see us there.
Yes. No, I'm hoping I can make it. It's just, I think I'm at a point where I'm learning to say no.
Yes,
honestly,
it's hard.
because it's so hard, especially on the weekends,
Yes.
with all the kids' activities. I'm just trying to figure out what makes sense for us as a
Yes,
family. Yeah.
that makes so much sense. So we're going to give the listeners a discount on 20% off of their first order with Eat Beituti with code FIRSTBITE20. So that's FIRSTBITE 20. And where can they find you and shop the product?
Yeah. So using that code, they can shop the product on our website, eatbeituti.com. Yeah, I forgot to mention that Beituti means homey or homemade in Arabic. And that was another pushback, by the way. That was like, why are you choosing such a complicated name? Like, it's hard for people to say, which, might be, but I thought it was cute, like with the tutti at the end.
It's adorable.
Yeah. So, yeah, everything about the brand is really inspired
Authentic.
by, there.
Amazing.
So, yeah, they can use that code on our website, but otherwise, if they prefer to get it in person, it's Heinens, Market District.
Amazing.
Yeah.
And then what's your Instagram where they can find you?
At Eat Beituti.
At Eat Beituti.
Yeah, and we try to share recipes and a lot of different things about Lebanon and the food culture.
Very cool.
Yeah,
Rawia, thank you so much.
it's been wonderful. Thank you for having me. This was really
Of
fun.
course. Yeah. And thank you for all you're doing. I think it's like when you meet those women who are kind of starting at the same time as you build a really cool bond. And
Yes.
it's so awesome to grow together and help other people learn about your brand and the powerful mission behind it.
Thank you.
So
I
keep
appreciate the
going, girl.
opportunity.
Of course. If you guys like this episode, please like and subscribe on YouTube, Spotify, Apple, or wherever you listen to podcasts. To shop the collagen that we talked about today, you can go to TheCheekyClean.com or ConsciousCart.com. And follow both to join the community towards living more conscious. We will see you next week. Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.